Since time immemorial, humanity has sought answers about the nature of good and evil, with many of these answers resting in the figures of God and Satan, two opposing forces representing the divine and the diabolical. But what if the true face of evil were hidden within the figure we have worshipped for centuries? This is a disturbing and radical idea, but it's not entirely new. Throughout history, some have suggested that Jehovah, the God of the Old Testament, may not be the benevolent being that many believe. Instead, certain ancient texts and episodes in the Bible suggest the possibility that Jehovah not only has a dark side, but could actually be Satan himself. The idea that Jehovah and Satan are the same entity is supported by some contradictions and unsettling behaviors attributed to Jehovah in the Old Testament. For example, Jehovah is described as a jealous and vengeful God in many passages, willing to punish severely those who do not obey him. In Exodus 34:14, it is clearly stated, "For you shall worship no other God, for the Lord, whose name is jealous, is a jealous God." This image is far from the God of love and forgiveness presented in the New Testament. When we consider Satan, he is also described as a being who seeks worship and exerts control through fear. Fear, anger, and the desire for domination are traits more aligned with the adversary known as the devil. Another intriguing aspect is the role Jehovah plays in the book of Job. In Job 1:6-12, Jehovah and Satan meet in a sort of heavenly council, where Satan is explicitly granted permission by Jehovah to test Job's faith through a series of personal and family calamities. This collusion is not only unsettling, but raises the question of why a truly benevolent God would allow someone like Satan to inflict such suffering on a righteous and devout man. If Jehovah were truly Satan, this episode takes on a new meaning. It is not a confrontation between good and evil, but rather manipulation by a single entity, playing both roles to test humanity. Moreover, in the Old Testament, Jehovah often demands blood sacrifices and acts of violence in his name, which seems to conflict with the principles of love and compassion one would expect from a supreme divine being. In 1 Samuel 15:3, Jehovah commands Saul, "Now go and strike Amalek, and devote to destruction all that they have. Do not spare them, but kill both man and woman, child and infant, ox and sheep, camel and donkey." This mandate reflects a level of brutality and disregard for life that seems more in line with actions attributed to the devil than to a God of love. In the story of Abraham and Isaac, Jehovah orders Abraham to sacrifice his son Isaac as a test of faith. Genesis 22:2. Although he ultimately stops the sacrifice, the question remains, why would a God of love subject his follower to such a cruel and emotionally devastating test? This act of manipulation in playing with human emotions is more akin to the temptations of Satan than to the care of a loving Creator. Furthermore, Jehovah's insistence on being worshipped exclusively and the condemnation of those who seek other spiritual paths also resonates with the same tyranny that Satan uses to exert control and divert the faithful towards him. Some argue that the figure of Jehovah in the Old Testament resembles more a Gnostic demiurge, a lower being who, believing himself to be God, rules through fear and authoritarianism. According to certain Gnostic beliefs, this demiurge could be equivalent to Satan, as a false god who keeps humanity in ignorance. This explains Jehovah's insistence on blind obedience and his disdain for wisdom and the pursuit of knowledge as seen in the story of Adam and Eve. In Genesis 3:22, after they eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, Jehovah says, "Behold, the man has become like one of us in knowing good and evil." This statement reveals a fear that humans might elevate themselves to a divine level, suggesting a struggle to maintain control over humanity. While some may see these arguments as extreme interpretations or heresies, they undoubtedly raise uncomfortable questions about the true nature of Jehovah, as depicted in ancient biblical texts. If Jehovah and Satan are one and the same, then the entire narrative of the battle between good and evil could be a construct designed to keep humanity in an endless cycle of fear, obedience, and suffering. This analysis does not seek to categorically affirm that Jehovah is Satan, but rather invites a profound reflection and a re-examination of the figures we have learned to revere without question. The true essence of Jehovah may be a much more complex and darker mystery than traditional theology has allowed us to explore, and these texts suggest that the line between good and evil is finer than we have believed. The search for truth requires brave questioning and a willingness to confront the hidden shadows in the deepest corners of faith. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. And of course, share your experiences in the comments. Together, we can build a strong and positive community. Thank you for joining us on this journey of growth and transformation. See you in the next video.